even remember what you did last summer? Perhaps you do, or somebody does. It's Sarah here, bringing you another review, and we are covering the very late sequel of the semi-popular late 90s horror slasher franchise, I Know What You Did Last Summer. But before we begin, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, get your raincoat ready, it's time to dive right in. A quick recap of the previous 3 films in the franchise. Yes, there were 3 films and even a TV series. The first mediocre entry in the film saw a group of teens who, after some drinking and driving, hit someone with their car and killed them. And they decided to cover it all up and never speak of it again. This of course comes back to haunt them the following year as someone leaves them a note saying they know what they did last summer. Uh-oh. One by one, a killer wearing a raincoat and fish hook starts killing the teens in ridiculous ways, until they find out that the person they had killed that fateful night was Susie, the daughter of Ben Willis, and he's after them for revenge. Of course, towards the end, the remaining teens manage to get the upper hand and put a stop to the killer. Then we get a direct sequel the following year, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and this one features the great Jack Black, but he's doing a pretty shitty Jamaican stereotype. Anyway, once again, the survivors of the first film as well as their new friends are invited to some tropical island for a getaway. When, guess who? Ben is still alive and goes on another killing spree. People die and the teens Scooby-Doo the mystery behind it. They set up a trap for the killer which causes him to kill his own son. And then Julie, played by Love Hewitt, shoots him till he's dead. Finally, it's over right, but not so fast. Almost a decade later and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer arrives. None of the original cast returned for this one, and if you've seen it, you probably understand why. It was pretty much direct to video, and it kind of just turned Ben into some supernatural killer who goes on a spree because someone dressed him up for a prank. Sure, why not? Long story short, after killing a few teens, he's eventually outfoxed and killed once again, hopefully for good this time. So how does I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new reboot, fit into this franchise? Well, it does and doesn't. This film literally fits the title of our playlist, by Act 1 being the good, Act 2 being the meh, and Act 3 being straight up awful. The film relies way too much on nostalgia, with constant callbacks and member berries to the first 2 films in the franchise. I guess we can at least say they had a good sense to pretty much ignore the 3rd film. Everything in this film could have easily been solved if they had called 911 after the initial incident. The driver of the truck was coked out of his mind, and even though Teddy shouldn't have been goofing off in the middle of the road, it was the driver's own fault because of the way he swerved. The kids did try to save him, but again, calling the paramedics and waiting at the scene could have avoided all of this hack and slashing that comes after. So while the title is I Know What You Did Last Summer, it should have actually been more I Know What You Didn't Do Last Summer. I'll save the reveal of who the killer is for the full breakdown, but trust me, it's done. And the excuse of the killer going out on their murder spree as well as how they knew of what happened that night is so poorly written, it'll make you want to throw shit at the screen and demand a full refund. However, even with such a weak premise to start off with, the first act has some pretty decent and creative kills, including the harpoon gun, one that was spoiled in the trailers unfortunately, as well as the infamous one involving the fisherman hook. Apparently though, the chemistry between Jennifer Love Hewitt, who returns as Julie James, and Freddie Prinze Jr., who reprises his role as Ray Bronson, was so bad that the script had them full on divorce and hating each other in this film. Anyway, the rest of the new cast is pretty standard stuff. Party girl, smart girl, the clown guy, guy who knows all the local legends, masculine dude who's too tough, and the weird friendly girl who always just happens to show up when people seem to need help. Guess which one is the killer? There's even a creepy groundskeeper character, which I guess is supposed to make people think he's a potential suspect. Anyway, Julie gives the group the worst advice by telling the main girl, Ava, to go full Scooby-Doo gang and investigate everything herself, which only puts her and her friends in even more harm's way, and gets most of them killed. There is an awkward but unintentionally funny scene in this film though, where Ray goes to confront Julie about it and he just reams her out over it. Again though, most of the film calls back to the events of the first film, with a few references to the sequel, heavily relying on your knowledge of what happened then, but also kind of hoping you might have forgot so it can basically rehash those moments with the new cast. Then the film ends with probably one of the worst, unsatisfying endings in the entire franchise. Yes, it is even worse than I'll Always Know What You Did last summer, setting up either another sequel or a reboot of the TV series, where Julie goes around the country hunting serial killer slashers. Yeah, it's just really dumb. So with all that being said, I award this film a shocking 4 out of 10. Man, did I have at least some kind of hope for this film that it would be a bit good. And yet, this is the first film this year that I went to theatres to see where I actually witnessed people walk out during the screening. And I saw Megan 2.0 not too long ago. I wasn't expecting greatness, but I was hoping to be entertained. And sadly, by the time the second act rolled in, I found myself getting more and more frustrated and bored. Like I wanted to fast forward the film and go and do something else while this played in the background. If you're a fan of the franchise, I would still recommend waiting for this to hit streaming. I do believe that Netflix have a deal for a November release date on the platform, where you can essentially watch this film for free. Although those precious 2 hours you spend doing so will be lost forever. Forever and ever and ever. I want to thank you all for checking out this video. Did you go and see this film, or are you waiting for it to hit the streaming services? And what did you think if you did see it? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more reviews and breakdowns each week, as well as tons of other film related content. I have been your host Sarah, and have an absolutely beautiful day. Take care and goodbye.